This committee meeting to order. Start with roll call, please.
Mr. Hess,
Present.
Mr. Byrne, Mr. Lear, Mr. Snipes, Ms. Dunbar, Ms. Parker, Mr. Fairfield, Mr. Carrico, Mr. Eckhoff, Mr. Smith, Ms. Zucolo, Mr. Swanson, Mr. Long, Mr. Kirkstra, Mr. Wheeler. We have a quorum.
Thank you. I've received one request for public comment. Reverend Doug Zimmerman.
Thank you, Mr. Hess, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning. I'm Reverend Doug Zimmerman, a board member of the not-for-profit organization Kankakee. I'm speaking today to address two concerns. On Tuesday, October 23rd of 2018, the sheriff was gracious enough to offer a tour to connect Kankakee members. The sheriff said during that tour that not all the specifications in the ICE contract were being met. Specifically, the hour of outdoor recreation is not being provided. I asked this committee, when is the outdoor recreation area going to be completed? With the $1.2 million received monthly from the U.S. Marshal and ICE contract for housing the criminals and ICE detainees, the project can be financed and finished in the near future. What is this committee's plan to complete the recreation area? Secondly, during the December 11, 2019 criminal justice meeting, the sheriff made comments about the 2019 stakeholders engagement. The sheriff outlined 4 areas that ICE Chicago focused on. The sheriff gave a quote from the field director, "ICE does not do raids." Is this comment just for the Chicago area? I ask because many news sources, including the New York Times, reported on August 7th of 2019 the ICE raid on 7 chicken plants in Mississippi. 680 workers were arrested. Raids are being done. With this in mind, housing detainees from all over the nation for ICE make the County Board of Kankakee, through its contract with ICE, complicit in this action and all the other cruel actions perpetrated by ICE. We at Connect Kankakee receive more accurate information about ICE actions from independent news sources, immigration attorneys, and eyewitness accounts than we feel is given by ICE. We continue to call on the Kankakee County Board to end its ICE contract. Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone should have received a copy of the minutes from December 11th, 2019. Take a motion to approve them. Mr. Eckhoff, second by Mr. Fairfield. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Chief Judge is not here today. We'll go with Circuit Clerk's Office, Ms. Cianci. In your package you have a copy of Sandy's monthly reports. I'll take a motion to approve. Mr. Carrico, second by Ms. Zucolo. Morning, Sandy.
Morning.
Comments? Everything on your report, please.
Let me catch up here. For Mr. Kirkstra, our new member, my report is the distribution. All the money that we collect every month goes into all these funds, and then they're dispersed out to all these different agencies and police departments, etc. So after you get a chance to review it, if you have any questions, just feel free to give me a shout. The state's attorney collection court call, we did $5,400 this last month, but a grand total of $128,987.05. So that is 22,000 improvement from last year, so that's a good thing. Any questions on that? Okay. The local debt recovery program in Harris and Harris, we brought in more $79,033 this last month, so we increased a couple $100,000 this year with $1,320,385. So that was a good year for that. And then on this next list for Harris and Harris, the open inventory, how this works. The cases that we turn over, so if you look at the bottom of the page, it says traffic 3,246 cases. So we turned over that many cases for this year, and this last month. 51 ordinance violations, 166 misdemeanors, 9 conservation tickets, and 110 DUIs, for a grand total of 3,582 cases for the year of 2019. And the grand total for all the years, the grand total that's open is 16,575. We took out the felony designation case category because those people are usually in prison and they don't, they're not collectible until they get out of prison, and even then, it takes a little while for them to get back on their feet. So we don't force the issue on that too much. What else did I want to tell you about that? So that's about it. Does anybody have any questions with all that?
Questions or comments on the reports? We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Computerization update.
Okay, well, first I just wanted to tell you a couple other things before we go into
That's fine.
computerization. I want to thank everybody for the extra employees. We finally got them hired within the last couple weeks, and so the training is beginning. So hopefully in a few months we will be able to see the fruits of our labor. We're focusing on getting the backlog done in the courtrooms and also working on the old files in the basement so that we can make room. I have to either get them all scanned into our system or send them out for microfilming, and so we're doing a mix of both so that we can get that done. We cleaned out a vault in the courtroom in 110 over the holiday break while the judge was on vacation, and it's all exhibits from felony trials and things. When I went through that, I noticed that there were a lot of cases that were either dismissed or the sentence term has been done for many years, so we're logging that all in right now, and then we're seeing how we can either give it back to the agencies that brought it in to the court case, or if there's a way that we can get it destroyed or whatever we need to do. So we're working on that, and then that will greatly reduce our footprint in the storage areas within the courthouse, so we're hoping to keep busy with that. So now, computerization. The good news, I've had some conference calls recently with Tyler Technologies, Equivant, which is the parent company of Courtview, and then the Administrative Office of Illinois Courts. We've all gotten together. So we had a call yesterday, and Courtview has identified the duplicate files that were being entered through the e-file integration test process. So they've been just sending cases in a test mode, and for some reason they were sending out duplicates or more of the same filing, and so they needed to go through and figure out the mapping and get that adjusted. So they finally gotten to that end. Then they will do another test run probably around the end of next week, and then it'll be turned over to my employee Paula, who will then begin further testing. She's going to be testing all the civil case types. That's the only designation that we're able to do right now. And so this is only like one piece of her job. She, has many other things to do, so it's hard to keep moving on that project, but she's doing as best she can. So we are seeing some light at the end of the tunnel, and once we get it wrapped up, more efficiency will be, in the office. And then we can start down the criminal filing path, because the Supreme Court has opened up the gates so that the courts can, or the circuit clerk's offices can do the criminal filing too. So So then one last thing, I did a summary of 2019 cases that went to court or were scheduled for court. I gathered the data from the judges' court schedules. It came out to 114,371 cases went to court last year. So I did some math, and it was approximately 465 cases a day in the courthouse. So that's a lot of, and that's just going to court. So that's not anything else that we do on top of that. For the year, the traffic misdemeanor court call, there were 2,300 cases that went to court for the whole year. Aggravated, or no, wait, that can't be right. No, in a month. The average month was 2,300 cases for traffic misdemeanor. Aggravated traffic in the jury call, that's almost 2,500 cases in a month. The felony DV court is 1,070 almost. Felony court 758, and small claims probate is 1,000. So it's a busy thing. In Judge Gertz's court, he was on vacation for part of December, like 2 weeks in December, and he still had over 800 cases. So it's a busy court call. So that's pretty much it.
Questions, comments for Ms. Cianci?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. In your spare time, keep busy. Up next, we have the state's attorney, Mr. Rowe. In your package, you have a copy of the grand jury report and the grand jury statistics report for December of 2019. Take a motion to approve. Mr. Eckhoff, second by Mr. Smith. Comments on your report, Jim?
You can see it was one of the shorter grand jury calls we've had. There was 15 true bills returned. There is a murder and an attempt murder on there. Those occurred in December, I think right before the holidays. So, but they were indicted in January. It's odd to see ones and twos on this sheet, to be honest with you. It's kind of nice. I hope it lasts.
Don't count on it. Questions or comments on the report for Mr. Rowe? We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Two other things. March 14th is Laugh for a Cause. It's a Harbor House fundraiser. It's a really good event. They bring Second City to the Knights of Columbus. It sells out every year. So at the end, people are always scrambling for tickets. If you want to attend that, we would really appreciate your support of Harbor House, whether as a sponsor or an attendee. You can get the information or buy tickets on the website at harborhousedv.org. Another thing, Child Advocacy Center, Child Network, they do our interviews in sexual assault cases. We've got to come up with some sort of solution to assist them with funding. And I'm probably at a future meeting going to be coming to this committee and asking for some source of support. They conduct the investigations and the interviews in sexual assault cases that involve minor victims or juvenile victims. And with the changes made, and it's really, our last governor, our current governor, our state legislature, the last state legislature, they have really hurt our ability to fund those type of services and for these services to even exist in our community. When they changed the bond to Category A, Category B, which we've talked about before, that took a lot of revenue off the table. Now they've zeroed out fines. So people come in, pretty much anyone that qualifies for a public defender, which is a large number of individuals that come into the system, when they're convicted of the offense, they're walking out with 0 fines due because of the new law that allows those fines to be waived. That's not your prosecutor's, it's not your public defender's fault, it's not the judge's fault, it's the legislature's fault. And as a result, because those fines aren't being paid or collected, they're no longer being sent to the Child Network, the Child Advocacy Center. And they have suffered year after year. They have been hit hard by budget cuts. So I'm not going to come here asking for a whole bunch of money, but I know that the agencies are going to start talking about maybe what some of the police departments, if anything, villages can contribute, and I'm hoping the county might be able to put a few dollars in the till, because we cannot prosecute those cases without their support. And these are some of the most important cases we have in the system. So just giving you a heads up on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Up next, we have the public defender, Mr. Ed Pennewick. In your package, you have a copy of the Public Defender's Report for the month of December 2019. Take a motion to approve. Mr. Fairfield, second by Mr. Lear. Morning, Ed.
Good morning, Roger.
Comments on your report?
Basically, December is normally a slow month, but we did dispose of more cases than we opened. I would like to take credit for that, but I can't. It's just the way the system works. It goes in ebbs and flows. I have been stressing, as you know, among my assistants to move cases to the best of their ability. There are so many factors involved regarding client control, accessibility to the court system, like Sandy talked about. We're trying. We're absolutely trying. We're trying to make these cases go away, which is, I guess the wrong term to use. Get disposed of in a fair and just process. A lot of these cases are getting private counsel, and obviously, if someone can afford private counsel, they should not have us to begin with. It's funny that if a client feels like he or she is being slighted by our office because we don't see them enough or are not catering to their needs, lo and behold, they get private counsel. There's only so much we can do about that. I think on paper, most of our clients are statutorily indigent. Obviously, if a friend or family is willing to come up with some money and pay for private counsel, fantastic, but the courts can't say, do you have friends or family who would hire counsel for you? It's what they can afford and what they can't afford. So we're going to keep on being appointed on these cases, and we're going to keep doing our best to resolve them. As of, I think, January 6th, we had a new hiree who replaced Kirsten Steves. His name's Dan Johnson. He was an ex-firefighter. He also has his tax law license also, which is kind of irrelevant to what he's doing now. He's already been to the jail on numerous occasions, the old jail and new jail. He's engaging with the clients exactly the way he should be. So I anticipate that some additional benefit will be reaped from another full-time, for his, not another full-time assistant, but from the appointment of a full-time assistant that you guys were graciously enough to authorize. So that's basically all I have. Any questions for the committee?
Questions?
All right. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second on the report. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
Up next, probation, Mr. Latham. Also in the package, you have a copy of the monthly report for probation. Take a motion to approve that. Mr. Long. Second. Mr. Carrico.
Good morning.
Good morning, Tom. Comments on your report, sir?
Yeah, just real quick, just a overview of 2018. We had just under 29,000 contacts for the year, which is slightly less than 2018. And a lot of that was just because we had some vacancies we had to fill. We collected 3,633 drug tests, which is up from 2008 drug tests the year before. So we increased that quite a bit. And a lot of that's because the grant has allowed us to bring a drug tester into the building, and that's all that person does for 2.5 full days is collect drug tests for us. So we did see an increase just about in every area from over 2018, except for detention days, which decreased by about 438 days. But we did see an increase in every other area, from drug court to pretrial to other areas. So. And that's what will be.
What's the 12-9 for the?
If we have 12 in custody, there's 9 at River Valley. 3 of them are out here at
All right.
Frank Homes because they're over 18.
Questions, comments on Mr. Latham's report?
The only other thing I have is pretrial, which I discussed here several.
Hang on one second. We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now, pretrial.
I'm in a hurry. The pretrial, which we discussed several times, the state awarded us 4 fully funded positions. Late last year, they've been hired. They're in place. They started this past Monday. They'll have about 4 or 5. We'll have 5 weeks of training, and then we'll get that program up and running. And hopefully we'll see that caseload will grow. Year end, we'll take a look at it. and hopefully it'll help decrease the local jail population along with it. And but we'll be watching those numbers now that we have those people in place and we're moving forward with it. So.
Questions? Mr. Wheeler?
I'm sorry, I was gonna ask about the ankle bracelet, the GPS monitoring thing, so,
Yeah, that's in place. We have one juvenile on it right now.
okay.
That's it. So it's in place. It's moving forward. We just had to work out a few kinks with court orders and things like that. But
Is there like an app for that? Can you look on your phone to, I'm just curious. Sorry.
I'm the wrong guy to ask.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Any other questions or comments?
And lastly, next month I will have that report on juvenile detention that we discussed, I think, in our December meeting. Just to give you some breakdown of the stats for 2019 and compare it to some past years, things like that. So we'll have that for you next month. So,
Thank you.
all right.
Up next, the sheriff. I believe everybody received a copy electronically of the sheriff's monthly report, and you also have one in your packet. Take a motion to approve this by Ms. Dunbar, second by Mr. Eckhoff. Comments on your report, Sheriff?
Good morning. Really, at this point, I don't have a whole lot of comments because as we end the year in 2019, we will have our full end of the year report available probably by next month, wherever Trent's at. Is he hiding behind the pole? He's not back there? Okay. Anyway, we are working on our 2019 numbers. One of the things that obviously sometimes gets a little confusing is the difference between our actual fiscal year and the calendar year. So we'll give you calendar year numbers as far as everything included on this report, but this report is mainly fiscal year as that's what number we work off of budget-wise. So, but we will have a full report. The only thing I would say is that we are currently over 300 locals in our custody. That's very high for us. Probably why there's no grand jury, because they're all in jail. But that number's a little bit concerning. So we will monitor that. We continue to work with Jim's office and work on getting those who should be out of jail. The other concerning number that we have talked about most of the year is the number of those who have been released from the Illinois Department of Corrections this year, which is at 1,005. So we've had 1,000 people who have returned to our community from the Illinois Department of Corrections. Now, that doesn't make them all bad, but we all know the recidivism numbers and what that means for our local judicial system. Our numbers indicate that there were 135 sent to prison and 1,000 came back. So those numbers aren't exactly in our favor at this point. That's all I got on the report, unless there's any questions on it.
Questions on the report? We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 2020 laws affecting law
Yeah,
enforcement.
just a couple. This is what our General Assembly did in 2019. That most of these new laws took effect January 1st, some sooner. I will just touch on a couple that may have an effect on us at some point, because we all know that when the state of Illinois passes laws, they don't care about what it costs local communities, but they do pass them anyway, and then we're left to fend for ourselves. The first one, and I only have 4 here, and I'll go over them briefly, and I'll give you the Senate bill or House bill number, and if you want to look at and read the whole bill yourself, you certainly can. The first one is Senate Bill 2090, and what that does is basically forces us to now make voting available for those who are in custody. We have to initiate that, where before, if an inmate requested the ability to vote, he could send us a request. We would work with the county clerk, and we would make that happen. Now, we have to initiate that to make that available to those who are in custody and eligible to vote. So that not only burdens our office, it burdens the county clerk's office. And again, this is one of those things that have come down from Cook County, which a lot of what's in here does. But that's the world we live in right now. The second one, kind of interesting, House Bill 2276, that says that you can't smoke in a vehicle that contains a person under 18. Sounds great. I think everybody would agree it's something that we should do. Here's the problem. Our deputies can't see somebody smoking in a car with a kid in it and stop that car for that. We have to stop them for something else. That's the mentality of the state of Illinois and our legislators. We can observe it right in the car, can't stop it for that reason. So, I'm not sure how much that's going to affect anybody. House Bill 2040, the private detention facility moratorium, I believe this took effect prior to January 1st, but that is the inability to allow private prisons in the state of Illinois, which we certainly agree with from the standpoint of private facilities, whether it's for federal inmates, ICE inmates, whatever. Private facilities do not operate the same way they operate for a profit, in which, obviously we don't in government. We don't operate under a profit. We operate in trying to save our taxpayers' money. So, and then lastly, the biggest one that I'm sure we're all familiar with, and we all say it's the marijuana legalization, otherwise referred to as the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act. Why anybody would put the word tax in a bill is beyond me, but they did. And so that's been in effect since January 1st. As far as any issues that we've run into, we have not really, well, I take that back. We did just have an issue. It's on the news, I believe, this morning. We have one of our deputies assigned to Metro. And for some reason, an individual who is a convicted felon was out at the Metro station out on right off of Route 50 and St. George Road in the bathroom smoking marijuana. Because we all know that when these laws get passed, everybody pushes the envelope to see what we can get away with, even though it's illegal. Our officer confronted him, got into a struggle. This individual ended up getting tased a couple times, and he was subdued with actually the help of one of the Metro employees. And for that, we're grateful that they stepped in to help. And lo and behold, he had a loaded weapon on him. So that could have gone south in a hurry. Credit to our deputy who handled that as well as could have been handled. And he is presently in our jail. But frustrating because we'll deal with him for a long time. He'll probably end up going back to prison, which is one of those 1,005 who came back to our community. So, questions on those?
Nope.
Rob, you want to pass this out? Make sure Kelly and the chairman get one too. Next on the agenda, the adoption of 10 shared principles. I'm sure some are wondering what that is. And the 10 shared principles is something that was put out, I believe, in 2018. It's something that I would like to think we already do, but this just really reiterates it, puts it in writing, makes a commitment. It was originally between the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police and the NAACP, and those 10 shared principles that they are handing out right now, I'm not going to read them all to you. If you want to give one, Rob, if you want to give one. Does everybody have one? Did you get all those? Yeah, if you want to give one to Reverend Zimmerman. This is an agreement from a law enforcement standpoint, the NAACP, that basically we're all working together, treating people the way they should be treated. And as I said, this is something that we've done. We are, right now, I believe, the city of Kankakee, I believe Bradley and Bourbonnais have signed on to this. Obviously, we want to sign on to this, so I would ask that this get moved to the county board meeting for full board approval. And our goal, as a county is to have all the municipalities with police services sign on to this agreement, and we would then become the second county in the state of Illinois to have all law enforcement involved with the 10 shared principles. So,
Take a motion to move this on to the county board. Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Fairfield. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
thank you. And lastly, even though we don't report to this committee, from animal control, I think it was asked by somebody last month to bring Carrie here to
That was me.
Yeah,
Introduce
I knew it
Carrie.
was somebody. So, as most of you know, Carrie was appointed as the director effective December 1st. After the first month and a half, she's still here, so that's a good thing. She is in the very back,
Stand up, Carrie.
in the red, standing up in the red top, Carrie Laird, and and things have gone very well. Carrie, if you want to say just a couple things about the transition and what's going on, grab the microphone.
Grab the microphone.
There you go.
The staff over there has been great. It's been a smooth transition so far, so I'm enjoying going over there. It's been great. I have no complaints. And I do have adoptable dogs. If you like to see them, they're on our website, and cats. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Any questions for Carrie? Anybody want to adopt a dog or a cat? See Carrie.
Remember, this is recorded.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Any other questions or anything for the sheriff? Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, the coroner. Mr. Gessner, in your package, you have a copy of his monthly report and the monthly receipts of money. Take a motion to combine them and approve them. Mr. Eckhoff and Mr. Smith. You gotta sit farther over, Elizabeth. I don't see your hand until it's too late. Questions and comments? Peripheral vision. What- Oh, yeah, Andy, you move to the side. Yeah, there we go. Questions on your report?
Good morning, everyone. In the month of December, I do want to apologize. I said last month I'd have our December, our 2019 report. We still have some pending calls that are still under investigation, so I'm unable to do that. I'll get it. Hopefully, it'll be done next month. December is a very busy month. We had 13 autopsies, which you kind of run that down the line. That would bring us out to 72 at the end of the year, which is quite considerably pretty high. So going down the line there, we kind of changed this report around a little bit to give a little bit more details on the total number of calls. For instance, the coroner signs off on 22 calls where you have a hospice, which we have 60 calls from hospice. We still have to respond to hospice calls, and referral calls is when the doctor signs off on that. Cremations, we had 60 cremations, which are not done in our facility. They're done at a funeral home. X-rays, we did 5 X-rays. Outside autopsies, meaning we do Iroquois, all their autopsies here. Alongside as their X-rays also are done here. This is what we changed around a little bit on different things like natural, homicide, suicide, accidental. Right now, we're last month I reported 29 overdoses. When I got back to the office, we had one more, so we ended up with 30 overdoses. But right now, in the month of December already, we have a possibility of 6 overdoses already. So if you times that out there, that's a considerably large number also. Other than that, I'll take any questions on that at all that you have. And the donations are from the Gift of Hope, but there's a lot more donations that are given out. But as far as if we have something here that's going to be autopsy and they come in for tissue, or if it's something that's at the hospital where we're going to do an autopsy on, but they want to get the heart or the lungs or liver or something like that, we'll go ahead and let that go if it goes along with our, as long as we get the body to be able to do a post on it, so.
Any questions? Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You have a request for declaring equipment surplus.
Yeah, as several years back, we went from developing our X-rays in our dark room out there. We went to that and we went digital several years back, I believe, a couple of years back, 5 years back. We've got all that stuff in there. We decided we're never going to use it again. We can't get the equipment, can't get replacements for anything, so we want to declare that surplus and get rid of that. No longer utilize because we have a digital machine now. So.
Take a motion. Ms. Kulo, second by Ms. Dunbar. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Other than that,
What else you have?
I just want to say one thing, that last week we had a farm incident out in the Grand Park area. And I can't tell you that the amount of help that we had, as far as Chief O'Brien from Manteno had the initial call out there, where a gentleman and two gentlemen were down there approximately 70 feet on a 100-foot tall grain bin. It was remarkable the amount of people that we've got that came to the Grand Park area to help us be able to get that person out of there. It was very, very extremely difficult. The wind conditions were really bad out there. The weather was very cold. But we got people from like Grant Park Police Department, the Kankakee County Sheriff's Department, Manteno, Momence Fire Department, Bourbonus Fire Department, Bradley, Limestone, the city, the township, and from the outside area, because they had to have a they call it a CART team, the rescue team, to do these particular types of rescue. They came from Frankfurt, Tinley Park, Manhattan, Orland Park, New Lenox, Lifestar Helicopter, Alsep Fire Department, Palos Park Fire Department, River Valley Metro, the American Red Cross, and of course our command van was out there also. Everything went perfect out there as far as communications wise there. I just wanted to let you know that when we need help like that in our community, these are people that we reach out for, and they come and they did a great job. It was about 6 hours we were out there, maybe 7 hours, all the way to dark, where we had to bring the body down from the 100, and we were able to do that with the difference in ropes and their rescue teams. Unbelievable. My hat's off to all the law enforcement and the fire departments that were out there, and Chief O'Brien, a great job that he did. But I just brought along a couple of pictures. They had a drone up from Orland Park that the chief had there, but we were able to bring in, and I can pass that around if you want to, we were able to bring in in our command van, we have a TV in there. We were able to bring the high velocity of what was going on up on top, right to our command vehicle, and be able to talk in all the operations, all the people that do the thing. It was unbelievable. It was interesting to see this go on, because that little hole was only about yay big, but yet 100 feet up in the air. It's just outstanding where everybody worked together, and everything came out, other than the fatal, and the one was rescued. But like I say, my hat's off. I just want to let you know what goes on in the community with your public safety and the things that they do that we don't get to see. And God bless them.
Thank you. Any questions for the coroner? Thanks.
All right.
Is there any old business to come before the committee? Any old business? Any new business? I don't know if it's Wes or Kevin. They got an awful big stack of papers back there. Okay. Any new business? Take a motion to adjourn. Ms. Dunbar, second by Ms. Sekulo. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.